Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awake in the World. We are live. It is 6 p.m. in the evening, of course, on the 4th day of September, already in the year that never was, 2021, right after 2020. It's all about you, but it's not. Good evening. How are you? Interesting day today, It started off kind of sunny and cool, and then it became smoky, and then it became cloudy and rainy and smoky, and it's just one of those kind of weird days. And I must say I do like those transitional days of between the summer and the fall, right in this time here where the mornings are cool and crisp, and yet the day still warms up enough to really enjoy being outside. So, speaking of enjoying being outside, I just want to express how much I enjoy being able to spend time communicating with every single one of you. And you are truly and deeply loved. You really are. You're exactly where you need to be right now. And whatever's going on in your life and in all of our lives is exactly what we need. And it's up to us as it's up to you. And that's going to kind of lead into what we're going to talk about tonight. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we're going to talk about the fact that it is 2021, and I read a very interesting headline yesterday. The UN has put forward a resolution to end witchcraft atrocities. And I had to shake my head, and I thought, is this 1721 or is it? No, it's 2021, you know? So it turns out there's a lot of that still going on throughout the planet, and I mean, apparently climate change isn't that important, but we better end those witch burnings. And believe it or not, it's not about atrocities committed against the witches. In this case, it's actually atrocities that those who practice witchcraft are committing. And it really made me shake my head. It's like, there's a lot of things in the world we really need to focus on right now. And I don't think witchcraft happens to be at the top of the list. But who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm not really sure. uh, yeah. Anyway, so it turns out it is 2021. And this has been a difficult time for people. And I truly get that. And on the one hand, there's the sort of the reason why I came here, part of me, because I've told people since day one, listen, I didn't come back here this time to be all nice and compassionate like last time. This time's a lot more serious. And there's an end to the road here that you may run into, and it's like a big brick wall. And it's not the end of the world, and it's not the end of humanity. It's the end of the way we're choosing to live. And this is never a bad thing, although it may appear to be a bad thing. And again, this is where this comes into this evening. So believe it or not, all of creation is really all about you. It truly, truly is. There's no denying it whatsoever. Anyone who thinks otherwise doesn't actually see the big picture. All of creation is here just for you. It's true, but it's not. And the reason why it's not is because the you that you think you are isn't the real you that we're talking about. And egoically, we do get caught up in this idea where we become selfish. We do believe that everything is about us. And that is always based upon our perceptions. So if I feel it's wrong, well, then someone should make it right. Because it's not right the way it is. It's wrong. And this is the simplest of examples, but this carries over into every aspect of our lives where we truly believe that somehow our point of view is the penultimate point of view. And it's just a point of view, as is my point of view. It doesn't matter where your point of view is looking from. It is valid only for you in that moment. And the reason I say in that moment is you are an ever-evolving being. So indeed, creation is all about you, but not the selfish you. It's about the self-centered being that you are. And that being is all of creation. At the same time, it's manifesting every single thing in creation. We get so caught up that we are somehow the thing, the being, the ultimate example of intelligence in the universe. And we really don't understand that we are all that is part of that divine consciousness, literally made of that divine consciousness, each of us reflecting that divine consciousness. But that which forms, which we think becomes alive in our egoic sense, is really nothing more than a memory bank, an opinion generating memory bank that has a commentary about every single experience. And depending on which way that memory bank develops, that commentary will either reflect the truth of your existence, or it will reflect the untruths of your existence. Ideas that you're less somehow. Ideas about that you somehow deserve anything more or less than anyone else does. That it's possible for anything to be less worthy or more worthy than you are. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. They really don't like the idea that everyone is on a level playing field. And when I say everyone, I'm talking about every piece of God's puzzle. All of it. It's all imbued with that divine consciousness. That's why our First Nations cultures and many, many other people have learned to view everything as conscious. And to see the holiness in it, the sacredness of the tree, the sacredness of water, the sacredness of the land we stand upon. We never really ask ourselves, why is it so sacred? And the reason we are all so sacred is because we are all infused with that divine source. We are not individuated beings, although we certainly appear to be. And the reason we appear to be is that's the only way that creation truly knows itself. You see, when you're everything, there is no mirror anymore. You need this reflective space. And it's in this reflective space that the truth is sitting right in front of us. Everywhere we look, we see ourselves. But egoically, we believe that means it's all about me, and that me is somehow an individuated being. Me, even if we tried to look at it in that sense, isn't really one. You've got a whole bunch of different yous in your head right now. And a lot of those yous were from a long time ago. They get stuck in certain places where they've had certain experiences that you has chosen to judge as being detrimental in some way or negative. Whenever we get into that sort of mode where we believe that we didn't deserve to have this happen to us, we're missing the cosmic truth that we did deserve it to happen to us. Why? Because it was one of the most loving things that could have been done. And this is hard to accept. I get it. As somebody who was sexually abused but by my own father at the ages of 5 and even younger yet, I understand that. But I can tell you that I've come to understand and love my father still. Despite the fact that he's dead, still love him. It doesn't really matter what's going on. We're always looking at things from that individuated point of view, but we must understand that we aren't actually that individuated point of view. That's only one tiny bit of the picture. So we can still be in this world, which is having that individuated point of view looking outward, and have that tempered by the fact that we're no longer of this world. And what that really means is we've come to see the larger picture, that we are simply, and all that is, all the wondrousness of that is, an aspect of that divine itself, interacting with itself, playing with itself, a game of hide and seek. Why? To be able to find out and grow in its own being. You know, the idea that perfection could be like nothing else in creation and somehow be static is another one of those ways we fool ourselves. You see, in the same way that every moment is actually quite perfect in what it's offering you and what's being available to you, so is every stage of your perfecting evolution. You, as an aspect of that divine consciousness, are engaged for eternity in the perfection of your own being. The growing and evolving and evoluting perfection of your own being, just as that divine creator is still growing and evolving in its own continuing, expanding perfection. Why? Because everything in the cosmos is looking back upon itself. Everything in the cosmos is speaking back unto that divine form, back until that divine sea of consciousness. We too are waves on that divine sea, not separate, not singular, momentary manifestations that rise and then fall and disappear, only to rise again. This is the joy of our existence. And when we're willing to understand that even though this one individuated form has supreme value and is a one of a kind, never seen before in over 13.8 billion years, and never to be seen again in all eternity, that the individuated form is totally unique, totally special, but it's just a form. So you can still act the part you're playing. You can still participate fully in life and revel in the zest of life and live the teachings that are helping to awaken you and helping to bring you in alignment with the glorious truth that you are so much more than this limited physical form. You know, in my 2 near-death experiences, the one thing that became blissfully obvious to me is there's absolutely nothing that happens here that causes any consternation, any concern, or any worry on what we would call the other side. And as a matter of fact, there is a deep understanding that each aspect of divinity is just as able to be cherished, just as valuable. So what does this mean to us in our world today? Because if we can't equate it into reality, if we can't do something with it, it becomes a lot of talk. Well, this is where we're given the opportunity to serve ourselves. Because every action we take is literally for ourselves, but we are the whole at the same time. Every single experience you're having within this physical realm must be, by default, processed through your point of view. We've all had the experience of not feeling the mosquito, right? Until it's too late. You realize after the mosquitoes sucked your blood and gone, and in my case, it's usually like 50 of them. And it's only when you start to itch, you realize that a mosquito has somehow snuck right under your defenses, stuck you, taken some of your blood, and left with a little tiny grin and a chuckle and you've noticed nothing. Our lives can appear that way a lot of times. We get disconnected from the whole and we get too focused on the individuated self. We fall too deeply into that egoic being and we begin to miss the communication that life is handing to us. That's handing to all of us all the time out of a deep love for every aspect of itself. This is the true secret, to understand that there's no you to really worry about, and yet the you that you are is a one of a kind filter reflecting back on that divine being, that divine consciousness. What do you want to reflect back to God? Because every single thing that comes out of you, every single word, every single thought, every single deed is being observed and recorded. And this isn't like some sort of evil Santa Claus that, sees you when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake and is going to decide whether you've been bad or good. And unfortunately, that's what sort of happened. And it's not the case. That divine consciousness is recording everything out of a deep love for itself. The fact that you believe you're a separate and individuated you has nothing to do with the truth that God loves itself. Now, we need to take that love that the divine has for itself, that ultimate love, that perfect and pure love. And just to be crystal clear, that love is always a one-way street. And it's a one-way street for a whole bunch of reasons, but the main reason is there is only one. And every act of love is loving itself. Can you look with God's eyes? Can you look with the eyes of that divine sea of consciousness, the eyes that already are God's eyes? Can you realize that right now and in every moment of your day and begin to see in every experience that God is being reflected directly back to you and you're being given the opportunity to commune with yourself, not another. This changes a lot of things for people. When you really begin to understand this, you want to go out there and volunteer to help the world in some way, right there in your community. And you don't have to go far. There'll be opportunities, things will be brought to you. Opportunities to show yourself how much you love yourself by serving the perceived other. But you'll know better. Because no matter how much it looks like another person, you will see the same shining face of God shining out of them that you feel shining out of you. That's the true source of compassion. Compassion is actually a very self-centered act. Self-centered versus selfish. Self-centered realizes that the self, that divine consciousness, is centered within each of us. It's okay when you don't act out of that place. God has much experience being a murderer, being a thief, being a rapist, being someone who would cause harm to others. Believe it or not, that's part of the evolution too. What do? How do we treat others around us, even when we perceive that they appear to be godless, because we know that it's quite impossible for them to be anything else but God consciousness manifest. We are all the children of the divine, but more than that, we are the divine. manifesting ourselves in childlike form. Why? Because this is the way that creation learns about itself, through a myriad multitude of experiences, an almost unlimited creation reflecting back upon that divinity. This is a gift, that this is what we're offered in every day, to still be here, to still walk with our feet upon the ground, to still sit outside and feel the rain falling upon us, and yet to know that every drop of rain is creation itself, that every leaf is reflecting God's smile, that every space is holy ground, that every encounter is an encounter with the divine. That's it. That's all I have today. Something to ponder, something to think about. You are far more than you imagine. You're actually everything. Namaste. Have a beautiful Saturday night. We'll see you again very soon. You are deeply loved.